I'm Paul Little. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce and Civic Association. I especially want to thank our candidates who are joining us this evening, and thank you all for stepping up to run. I know it's very difficult to put yourself out there, and I appreciate very much that you all are doing that. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters, Pasadena area, and the Pasadena Chamber, with our very supportive partners, Pasadena Media, who are broadcasting this on the Arroyo channel, and I think on their Zoom account as well. I want to assure everyone, as you can tell, we are socially distanced and safe this evening as we're all joining you from our living rooms, dining rooms, dens, and homes. Before I get started, though, I do want to make a note to thank the many healthcare workers who've spent the past 6 months keeping us safe and healthy. They've been working really hard and very long hours to ensure that we all stay as safe and healthy as possible. And given what's happening on the hills above my house here in Pasadena, I want to thank the firefighters who are battling the blazes up and down the West Coast, and especially the Bobcat fire here in Southern California. I want to remind everyone to please vote by mail or in person for the November 3rd election. It's critical to Pasadena and the country that voter participation is very high this election. And now, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you very much. Good evening. Welcome to the Candidate Forum for the Pasadena Unified School District Board of Education. We thank our co-host, Pasadena Chamber of Commerce, and the candidates and those attending for your participation in this Zoom webinar. My name is Dorothy Keene, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters Pasadena area, which includes Pasadena as one of the San Gabriel Valley communities we serve. The League's charter is to promote informed and involved participation in government through education and advocacy. We study and act on public policy issues, but never endorse or support candidates or parties. We assist in forums like this as part of our voter services program. Before we begin, I would like to introduce the rest of the League team. I'm not sure you're going to see them on screen, but in addition to me, we have Ann Lee, who is going to serve as the timekeeper, and she is on the screen. We also have Tony Johnson and Joy Wilson, who are the question sorters. And in the background, taking care of the technical support is Gail Oswald, and all are volunteers. In the November election, there are 9 candidates competing for 3 seats on the school board. I would like now to introduce those candidates so you can see them by district. First of all, District 2. I would like to introduce Mike Crowley. Mike Crowley, Jennifer Lee, and Wayne Hammock. Okay. And then in District 4, I would like to introduce Patrick Cahalan and Scott Harden. And Scott Harden. Okay, thank you. And in District 6, candidates are Priscilla Hernandez, Tina Wu Fredericks, and Crystal Zubernat. Thank you, all of you, for your willingness to attend this evening, and particularly for your willingness to serve on the school board. I will now proceed to explain the rules for this forum. which have been agreed to by the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement about themselves and their candidacy. The candidates will give their opening and closing remarks by district, but the questions will be asked of all candidates. The candidates will be speaking in a random order based on numbers drawn prior to the forum. The timekeeper will keep the candidates informed of the time remaining and will raise a red card, Anna, to show that their time is up. Once a candidate's time is up, he or she should conclude their statement as quickly as possible. While candidates are being voted on by their district, questions will be asked of all candidates because keep in mind that the elected board's decisions affect all families, irrespective of the district they live in. The attendees are invited to write questions for the candidates in the Q&A at the bottom or the top of your screen, depending upon what computer you have. All you have to do is click on the Q&A, type in a question and the return key or enter key, and it will be seen by our question sorters and sent to me. And I'd like to say a little bit about the questions. The written questions must be in the form of a question, not a statement. If there are several questions on the same issue, they may be grouped together by the question sorters. Questions must deal with the issues of this election. No personal references or attacks will be allowed. All candidates will answer each question and there won't be any rebuttals. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the general questions submitted in the Q&A and tracked by the timekeeper. At approximately 8 o'clock, the question period will be terminated and closing statements will begin. Each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement, which will be given in the reverse order from the opening statements. Remarks will conclude at that time. We will now start with the 2-minute opening statements, and we will hear from candidates clustered by district. And the first district that we're going to hear from in the opening statement is District 6, and I call on Crystal Zubernat for her opening statement. Crystal.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for providing this venue for us to be able to communicate with our community about why we're running. My name is Crystal Zubernat, and I'm running for District 6. I come from almost 20 years of experience in education as a classroom teacher and an administrator. I have 2 kids at Sierra Madre Elementary School, boy-girl twins. And I'm an expert in distance learning, and I'm an expert in school enrollment growth. I have spent my career saving schools that have come close to closure. And I've been able to go in and build a plan and a strategy to ensure that they have not closed. In my career, I've built 5 high schools, 2 junior highs, and a college. I am here for you. My children are in Pasadena Unified, and I am a product of public education as well. And it is my commitment to you and our voters that we create a public school system that, 1, is sustainable so that we're not closing down schools, and 2, that our communication to you is transparent and allows you to understand what's happening budgetarily, for the decision makings that are happening at the board level. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to stop just for a moment because we just got word that another one of the candidates has arrived and she needs the link. Melina Albert would like to be linked into the meeting. Gail?
I do not. Does she need the Zoom link?
Yes, that's what I'm assuming.
I will have it resent. Do you happen to have an email address for her? I will resend it. I just want to make sure that she gets it.
Okay, sorry. Shall we go ahead with the others? With the opening statement? And then when she arrives, we'll hear from her.
Yes, why don't we start with the next candidate, and with the time, I will try to get the invite to Melina. So
All right.
excuse me if I'm a little bit delayed. I appreciate everyone's patience.
We all understand everything about technology means that you've got to be able to flow with it. And we're going to do that. So our next District 6 candidate is Tina Wu Fredericks. And Tina, would you please give your opening remarks? And Anna is ready with the paddle.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tina Wu Fredericks, running for Pasadena Unified School Board District 6. Thank you, League of Women Voters and Pasadena Chamber of Commerce for hosting. I'm a former high school math teacher and currently a computer engineer. I've been at the district for 8 years. I have 2 girls, 10 and 13, served on the PTA board multiple terms, as vice president, treasurer, legislative advocate, also very active in the school board meetings. And what I've seen over the years is budget cuts that pit families and schools against each other. And our campaign is saying enough is enough. We're tired of fighting each other over the crumbs. After years of political advocacy and organizing legislative visits on healthcare, tenants' rights, and environmental justice, I will redirect my advocacy work towards education. I want to work with fellow board members and the community to organize and fight for more funding so all students benefit in an equitable way. I want to take this crisis as an opportunity to reimagine education. So I want to advocate for smaller class sizes, hiring more teachers, and that every school has a librarian, nurse, custodian, and counselor, and that we have the highest safety standards for reopening schools because our kids are worth it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next District 6 candidate is Priscilla Hernandez. Priscilla?
Hello, thank you so much. My name is Priscilla Hernandez, and I'm running for school board because I love our community. And I realize how incredibly challenging this time has been for all of us, especially our students. Like many of you, as a parent of 2, I have seen firsthand how distance learning has impacted our kids. And I want to be part of the path back towards stability and normalcy. Now, more than ever, we need proven leadership, experience, as well as the ability to bring people together. I have over 25 years of proven and results-oriented experience in the education field, with specialties in coalition building, fiscal, and organizational management. As a graduate of UC Berkeley with a master's in public administration from USC, I've worked in the governor's office and campaign dealing with education policy issues. I've run a successful nonprofit dedicated to at-risk youth and their families, directly responsible for establishing organizational budget and policy oversight. I'm an early education organizer within the city of Pasadena, and most recently served as chair of a city commission. I am proud to tout my contributions to this wonderful community, whether it be coalition building by bringing over 4 dozen early education providers together through the Pasadena Preschool Fair, or advocating for equity of underrepresented groups such as inner city youth and their families through after-school education initiatives, as I currently professionally do. Or rather pursuing real policy change through initiating, sponsoring, and negotiating the legislative bill that would add to California Education Code benefiting the most vulnerable student population, as I have with AB 3064. I present these examples as a method to showcase the passion and initiative I will have and continue to have as a school board member. And I want to roll up my sleeves, tackle issues, make tough decisions, because I know that our future depends on it, and I would be honored to serve and given this opportunity. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And Melina, we are giving our 2-minute introductory statement. And now I call on you, Melina Albert from District 6. Would you unmute?
There you go.
Yeah.
The host muted me. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's been a technological roller coaster from the beginning.
We understand, yes.
Okay, yes. So my name is Milena Albert. I am Los Angeles Police Department chaplain and public administrator. I came originally from Russia in 1989. I've been in the US almost 31 years. I have a degree, a Master's of Fine Arts from UCLA, not in public administration and film producing, but it taught me a lot in terms of how to produce anything in my life around me, for my family, for my community, for my job. I have run for the school board before. In fact, the league has been very helpful in the process back in 2007 when I ran against Viviani. And since then, my children have been with the district for 13 years. And all I've seen is them failing because there's never any possibility of getting any kind of a academic interference in helping them. And after my second son graduated with 1.45 GPA from PUSD high school and went on to PCC and finished his first year with 3.2, it made me realize it's not about the kids. It's about what kids have in order to be able to be successful. Obviously, he completely failed high school and he's very much succeeding in college. So that's prompted me to decide to run again. Even though my daughter has only 3 years left with PUSD, she's in high school. She's the youngest. My youngest son is finishing high school this year. He's at Rose City again, failing year after year. I ended up getting him at Rose City so he could finally graduate. And I realized that the biggest issue that the district has been facing, and that goes to everything, it goes to the fact as to why we have such a low enrollment, is academic failures. So I run to make the change. I run to establish a strong program where children will not be left behind and will not be performing below grade level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we move on to Scott Harden of District 4. Scott, would you give your opening remarks, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm Scott Harden, and I'm running for the PUSD Board of Education in District 4. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, but I also want to thank all of you watching tonight who agree with our hosts that democracy is not a spectator sport. Your engagement in our educational future is appreciated, and it's critical. I'm running because I believe it's time to engage our community to think big about the future of PUSD. PUSD provides a great education with amazing opportunities to some of us. But we also know our district struggles with issues of declining enrollment, school closures, and systemic inequities with persistent achievement gaps that have not improved over the last 5 years. And now a global health crisis is upending everything we thought we knew. There's so much that challenges us, but there's also so much opportunity for improvement if we have the courage to move away from status quo thinking and toward positive new energy to tackle big challenges and even bigger obstacles. I believe I have the right qualifications to reconnect our community to our school district so that we can work together to create better experiences for all our students. I'm a 4-term PTA president with over 8 years of community leadership experience working with families of all backgrounds across the district. I'm a change design strategist by profession, which means I bring people together in organizations, large and small, to work with common purpose to solve their biggest problems, measuring success along the way. We need to build up our district's unique value and show those who are considering PUSD as the place to educate their children that real work is being done by all our people to address our biggest challenges and set a bold vision. In that effort, we will build empathy as well as lift hearts and minds that we are PUSD, a district of inclusion, equity, and opportunity for all. Tonight, I hope that I can make the case to you that I'm the right choice for the future of PUSD in District 4. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. And now Patrick Cahalan of District 4.
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pat Cahalan. I am currently on the Board of Education. I am running for re-election. I was first elected to the board in 2015, and I have served for 5 years now and some change. I have a 30-year career in technology, almost 25 of it in technology in education, 4 years at the high school level, and almost 20 years here at Caltech. I have 2 kids in the district. Both started in kinder at Longfellow, which was my neighborhood school, and now attend Blair. My eldest is a junior in high school. So we've been in the district for quite some time. I've been involved with this district for about 10 years, first as a PTA parent, then volunteering for the site council at Longfellow. I was chair there my last year at Longfellow. And then I served at the district level on the district advisory council for 2.5 years, 1 year as secretary and 1 year as vice chair before I was elected to the board. I ran for board because I thought that parents needed a bigger say in this district. And I'm pleased to see there are so many PUSD parents running for office this year. It's different for the board to even the members of the board that have had children in the district that have graduated. It's different than having the experience as a parent. I've been a parent advocate the entire time I've been on the board. I've advocated for more authority for site councils. I will continue to do so. And I hope that the voters of Trustee Area 4 see fit to re-elect me for a second term.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And now I would ask Jennifer Hall-Lee to give her opening remarks.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hall-Lee and I am running for District 2. I have a daughter at Blair High School. I am a writer and documentarian. I'm also an Altadena Town Council person, and I have been so for 6 years. That's 3 terms. I am also the chairperson for the Elliott Arts Annual Fund at Elliott Arts Magnet Academy, the PUSD middle school here in Altadena. On the Altadena Town Council, I reestablished the Altadena Town Council Education Committee, because I felt that with my work on the annual fund and my work in the town council, that together we really needed to talk to community members about PUSD schools. So we instituted town halls, we talked with people, and so much of that work was so successful because we worked with the school. Through all of my volunteer work, I have developed a cohesive vision that includes equity, community, and democracy. I am a firm believer in public schools. I went to public schools, and I'm running because I absolutely love PUSD. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Wayne Hammock, your opening remarks, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce. My name is Wayne Hammock. I'm running for District 2. I'm a parent. I have 3 kids, one of whom just graduated from Marshall. He's starting at UCSB. I have a freshman daughter who is at Marshall, and my youngest is in the 4th grade at Sierra Madre. My wife and I have been involved in the district for more than a dozen years. Quite proud of my involvement in our community here in youth groups. I started off as a coach and a Cub Scout den leader, worked my way up to board activities, and helped build some of our local Little Leagues. And then as my involvement in those youth groups expanded, as my kids moved up in school, I got involved with the Marshall Fundamental Athletic Boosters, where we worked to help build up our athletic programs, raise funds for the school, and just become overall members of that community there. In the process of that, I began to follow board matters with respect to maintenance, facilities, budget matters, and obviously the consolidation discussions from last year. I work as an attorney, so I'm very comfortable getting into the details and the minutia and frankly, the nitty gritty with respect to some of the complex issues that face our district. We are a first-class city. Our school district, our public district, does not always have the perception of that is deserving for a city like ours. I want to make it better. And so I'm jumping into this race because I believe that I have the enthusiasm, the passion for our youth and our community. And I want to see PUSD do better. And so this is a very important election. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight and to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. And now Mike Crowley.
Hi there. I'm Mike Crowley. I was born and raised in Pasadena. I went to Hale School, now not called Norma Coombs. I went to Webster. Then I was one of the first people to be bused to field school. Then I got lucky and got a scholarship to go to St. Francis on a basketball scholarship. At that point, that fell apart. I became a manager at Bonds and moved from point A to almost being a store director. My father was a Pasadena police officer, actually was the guy who arrested Sirhan the day he killed Robert Kennedy. Now, I'm a member of the Tournament of Roses for the last 8 years. I've served on this committee and have worked with our community and civic leaders. This summer, I passed out 2,000 meals to PUSD students who could not get to the drive and grab and go sites. It taught me humility, especially when one kid is telling me to my face, thank you, I can finally have breakfast. So I was bullied growing up. So I decided to do something about it. And I partnered with a guy named Devarius McKay. You can see on my video on PasadenaStudentsFirst.com. And we did an anti-bully campaign. We've got outstanding reception from the city and from our community leaders. The core of my platform is to make sure that we can support teachers and staff to make sure they have all that they need to establish equity. I'm here to try and make things better. I've grown up here. I've been a part of this community. I know what makes things tick in this town. I'll be running for your District 2 trustee. Thank you for your support and hopefully thank you for your vote in November.
All right, thank you very much to each of you. Now we move to the second part of the forum where we have questions that were submitted prior to the forum when people signed up. And also we have some in the Q&A. And you have 1 minute in which to answer those. And I'm going to start with the first question addressed to Mike Crowley. And that question is, parents have been feeling disconnected from board decisions, from school closures to COVID school reopening. Can you give specific examples on how, if elected, you will engage the community and make sure parents are involved in the decision-making process?
Well, I'm very lucky. I'm retired. I was in the music business. I had a band go platinum. I'm retired and actually able to sit and be with a parent. I am a parent. I know what is wrong when you can't get your frustrations out. So I will be available to my district. I will be there almost morning and noon and night because I'm done with work. My phone will always be open, my emails will be ready, and we have this beautiful thing called Zoom. I think the most important thing is to engage parents and to make sure that they understand what happened. It's very, very bad when you can't get your trustee on the phone or get even an email returned. So I promise that will not happen. And you can mark my words on this. I will always be available to you.
All right, thank you. And now Jennifer Hall-Lee, answer the same question, please.
Hi. Yes, the work I have done for the last 6 years in Altadena has been listening to community members. People call me, I respond promptly. The job on the Altadena Town Council is to reach out to community and bring them into what is happening in the county, and we connect people with LA County representatives. Also, the work I've done on annual fund has been to figure out how to reach out to parents at Elliott, and that is a difficult thing to do, but we have managed to do it, and it's something I absolutely love to do, and I have experience with that. Thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you. And Priscilla. If you would answer the same question.
Well, this subject is obviously a very sensitive subject and something that last year it brings up some strong feelings. The way I approach things, it would be a twofold decision. Essentially, the first is how do we not get there? What efforts do we take? What kind of a plan do we take to prevent consolidation? But once we get there, I'm an advocate of getting to the issue before it's an issue. And it sounds very simple, but I think we need a plan. We need a plan of action. And that plan needs to be developed not just by board members, it needs to be developed by all stakeholders. I believe that the plan should happen before we even get there. So a plan that is developed by parents, by students, by insight, have town halls, have get feedback from stakeholders, and then come up with an actual document that identifies what criteria would be used in order to, and what plan of action would be used in order to situation.
Thank you. Thank you. Patrick.
So I am deeply engaged in both the district and site level parent organizations in the district. I've advocated for more parent involvement, both in the governance of the district and at individual site levels. I'll bring up the specific example of closure since it was mentioned. I advocated earlier in the process to have more town halls to seek public input. The timeline changed when the board asked the committee to press ahead and change the work that we were doing. So we had to do that. And I went out and I went to parent organized meetings from Marshall parents, from Don Benito parents, from Roosevelt parents. Kenny and I were the only two that went to the Roosevelt one. Larry Torres and I were the only one that went to the Marshall one. So I have a track record of reaching out to the parents, I believe, and I will continue that work.
All right, thank you, Patrick. And Tina Wu Fredericks. You could unmute and answer, please.
Yes, so at school board meetings, I often hear parents say, they ask the board members, come visit our children's school. And so when we are concerned about making sure we are addressing all students' needs, we have to actually understand, the learning environment of all students. So we have to, enter the hallways, walk the hallways, look into the eyes of the students and the learning environment that they're in. So I would say board members, listen to what parents are saying, which is come and visit the school. And that doesn't have to happen after, school closure. It's got to happen on a regular basis, and not when there's a photo op or award ceremony, but just, every so often to be connected to the students, because a lot of families actually cannot, they work multiple jobs so that they can't attend board meetings. So, and also I would also like more participation in the parent participation in the school consolidation and boundary committee next time around. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll all keep our one eye on Anna Lee, who has the panel. Wayne, would you please answer the same question?
Yes, thank you, Dorothy. Yeah, the disconnect and the communication issues that we've had in the past have been a big issue across a wide range of areas. I can tell you I was privileged to be the moderator for that Marshall Town Hall that Pat described, and it is great when you can have board members there talking to parents. We had probably 50 or 60 parents there. They answered questions for probably 2 hours. It's very gracious of Mr. Torres and Mr. Cahalan to do that. But obviously we can't always do that. And one of the great frustrations we had with that process was 3:30 meetings. Not everybody can go. As Tina said, people are working. But guess what? I think we have one of the solutions right here, which is those meetings over Zoom. Okay. Nobody knew how to use Zoom before the pandemic. This is one of the positive things that we can use. We can do these types of meetings, committee meetings, things like that, where families can attend, can participate, can ask questions in chats. I want to expand that across our board so that we can deal with those things and allow more people access. It's very important for everybody that we know what's going on, because it's amazing how many families we talked to during this campaign who had no idea what we're talking about when we talk about the school issues. So these are very important issues, but I think we can do better, and I'm optimistic about that. Thanks.
Thank you. And Crystal.
My video is not turning on. I think the host has to turn my video on. There we go. What I love about this question is that it comes from our community. What that means is our community wants more communication and they feel like they're in the dark. It's astounding to me how many people do not even know who their board representative is for their district. And that's a primary goal of mine, is that we begin to bridge that gap, close the gap, in fact, to ensure that what is happening at the board is known within our community. I am here for our community. You are the ones that will vote me in this seat. I am responsible to you, not only to communicate to you what is happening, but also to be your voice onto the board as well, so that you feel heard and you understand what's being happened at a transparent level from our school board. The gap needs to be bridged. And my commitment to you is that I will be boots on the ground, your voice from the school board, listening to your needs and concerns.
Thank you very much. And Scott Harden.
All right, thank you for the question. So you're going to hear me talk a little bit tonight about visioning. And that's my skill set. I'm a problem solver, somebody that can build consensus by profession. And I'm also a PTA leader, which gives me, really a boots on the ground view of the hopes and dreams of folks. And so I'm going to go to the vision piece first, because I think that if we come together as a community, and not just parents, we need all of our community. In fact, even parents that have sent their kids to private schools. People, civic agencies, community leaders coming together to really define a longer roadmap for our community. And what that's going to give us is community consensus towards some of the big problems that we've had in the past, where there hasn't been a lot of communication of the problems and hearing of possible solutions to avoid impactful decisions. So I'm really going to stand up for that as a school board member and use my relationships in the community to help that.
Thank you. And Melina Albert. You need to be unmuted, Melina. Unmute. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So as a former Pasadena City Commissioner, I served the city for 12 years on 3 different commissions, including Code Enforcement, Human Relations, and Commission on the Status of Women. I've had to deal a lot with public coming to our commissions for various issues. So yes, there are always people who are very vocal, but it's the people that are not vocal that we need to hear from. So the 2 things, I thought that the district handled the schools reopening versus remote learning survey pretty well by submitting a texting and emailing survey. That's one of the things that I think they should continue, and they had a pretty good turnout on that survey. But also one of the things I want to see is establishing an ombudsman office where parents and students can come in with their complaints and concerns outside of their schools that could be overseen by the board. So that's one of my goals if I am to become a board member. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we are ready to move to the second question. And I just want to say that this question was submitted by the chamber. And it's first going to be answered by Jennifer Hall Lee. And the question is, Pasadena Unified has been threatened with financial insolvency and is now faced with a significant drop in enrollment and more loss of income as a result. Faced with these and other pressures, how will you ensure the financial health of the district going forward?
Actually, this last interim report, I believe we are in the black, which is really a positive thing right now. So I just wanted to put that out there. And the bottom line is California does not fund schools the way other states do. They simply don't. We used to be up near the top with our public school system, and now we are down near the bottom. We have lost revenue since Prop 13. It is a fact. And we are going to have to fight for more revenue from the state and from the federal government. Thank you.
You're welcome. And now may we hear from Priscilla.
Sorry about that. The next few years are going to be tough. I know there was a report by Leslie Barnes that mentioned that we are in the surplus, but what was also forecasted is that for the next several years, it's not going to be that way, that we have to prepare for tough financial times. And it's not going to be a situation that one person alone or one board member alone can fix. It's going to take a collective effort of not only the board, but all of us putting our minds together on how are we going to face in upcoming years, and what are the best methods other than buckling our belts in regards to budget and looking at what we have in place. How do we create other opportunities, public-private partnerships, what resources are around us, and also advocating and lobbying our state government to bring more funding in. I've worked in the governor's office. I have experience, and I hope to help in this process.
Thank you. Before we proceed, I've been doing a little chatting myself with Gail, and there's a certain amount of time lost in having to mute you and unmute you, etc. So I said, why don't we try unmuting all of the candidates and also letting us see you, because you only get a minute anyway to answer the question. And I think then we won't have any delay between. So she's going to try to do that now before we proceed. So we get to see all of you. And then I think you have to unmute yourselves. Scott said it was a good idea. He put his thumb up.
All good.
All right, are we ready? No, the next person to speak isn't on yet. So please unmute. And particularly you unmute, Patrick. You're the next one to answer that question.
All right. So yes, advocacy is important. We've done this. I've done a trip to Sacramento to advocate with our legislative branch. I've advocated strongly with Senator Anthony Portantino, our local senator, which has, I believe, had some impact. It's been interesting this last June, both the State House and the State Senate committed to offering more money to public education than what's required by the Proposition 98 guarantee, which is something that hasn't happened since 98 passed in 1993. So it's important for us all to remember that there's positive signs as well. We are held harmless for ADA for this year, so we will be receiving the same amount of revenue we got last year, even with the drop in attendance. The complexity is going to be what happens in between January and March 15th, which is when the board is going to have to decide how to respond to the potential loss of students where we don't know how many of them are going to come back. So there are steps that we're taking right now to try and chase those students, and that will inform our decision in March.
All right, thank you. And Tina Wu Fredericks.
So we always a lot of schools, they're raising money to pay for a librarian, and our budgets are getting cut a lot all the time, and now with the crisis getting worse. So yes, we have to lean on our elected officials. I will use my advocacy experience over the years to organize, not just by myself, organize parents who already know how to organize fundraisers, channel all that energy, that organizing power, and we will go in the offices of our elected officials and lean on them and ask them, are you going to support our children, this next generation, our future generation? So we have to ask our community for that support. I will advocate for the increased funding at the state and federal level, and we all should be voting yes on Prop 15. That will bring billions of dollars to our public schools and other social services. And so that way we will continue to, that way we won't have to make that difficult decision to close schools and cut teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wayne. Unmute.
Yeah, thank you, Dorothy. Look, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very challenging. First thing, as Pat said, we need to really get active advocating to have our kids come back. And so we're going to really get a sense. I think we're down about 1,000 kids, about 11% right now. A lot of, unfortunately, lower income families have not returned for technological issues and the like. Our district is being squeezed from both ends as families have to move out and as wealthier families are able to go to private school. So we need to be active on the recruiting front. We need to hopefully, get a better sense for where we're at. I know maybe we're in the black at the moment. Check again in 5 minutes because it's not going to last that long. And so I really think that we've got to assume that we're going to face some really difficult straits here. And there will be some very difficult decisions to be made. But I think once the new board comes in, we can look at things from a top-down perspective, look at our programs, but we've got to get our kids back in, or else we are going to have those tough questions, and there will be cuts, and it won't be pleasant.
Thank you. And Crystal.
Thank you. Quite frankly, this is why I'm running, and this is my area of expertise. The entire country, let alone the state of California, is going to be lobbying the state for more money where there is or is not going to be money. So it's going to be up to us to improve our schools and create schools that families want to send their students to. A few years ago, PUSD put all this money into creating a survey to ask students and families who were going to charter schools and who were attending private schools what they wanted and how they would return back to PUSD. And the answers were simple. One, more and better communication between teachers and parents or adults. And two was more academic rigor and college prep. That's just one way quickly we can start to turn around, rebrand, remarket what our schools are offering, and create PUSD as one of the top schools in our state that every family wouldn't pass the chance up to send our kids to.
All right, thank you. And Scott.
Well, thank you. Again, prioritizations. And if we come into tough times with our budget, we have to have community consensus towards what our priorities are. I can tell you myself, I want to close achievement gaps. I think we haven't moved that needle for a long time, and we need to get after the problem. We need to improve special ed, our service model. We need to include training and improvement, service improvement, and we need more signature programs and pathways, but we need money for those priorities. But I'm not an ideologue, and so I want what the community wants. And so again, going back to a 10-year roadmap, I call it the 10-year vision and success roadmap. The first thing I'll do and call for as a board member so that we can come together as a community and identify our priorities. And when we converge to set a vision, then the more we can build on good ideas. And when we build on good ideas everyone supports, then we'll go out and we will get the money to finance those things. I firmly believe we can do that with community support.
Thank you. And Melina.
Let's see, I'm on mute. Okay, so I too agree with Crystal that I think the most important thing we can do in terms of ensuring that we have the money is improving schools so students do better, so other families that are currently in schools will not move out of the district to go somewhere else, but also new families will come in. And because particularly of the economic situation right now, we're looking at a lot of people not be able to afford private schools anymore. And especially because many private schools are still also on remote learning. And I know people who question, why am I paying money? So in order for us to bring in those families, whether they're middle school, high school, doesn't matter, we need to establish that Pasadena Unified School District is as viable as any private school. And that will bring the money that we need for our budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And Scott, I'm sorry, and Mike Crowley.
Right. Okay. For me, I already have a very good relationship with most everyone on Garfield, and we could collectively work together. I was actually meeting yesterday with Alan Edson with NAACP and trying to figure out what we can do as a community moving forward and using our elected officials on Garfield and try and work and figure out how we can go to our elected officials higher up. Yes, Pasadena is going to have a problem moving forward. So is PUSD. We must figure out the way, and I believe I can do this because of relationships that I do have with people with funding, with people that can make better use of the property. Being a former realtor, I know we can do better with some of this excess land as well.
Thank you. Before we go to the next question, I want to ask Gail if we're set up the way she wants us to be. You're saying something about, our view of the screen. Are we set the way we should be, Gail?
Yes, so just so all of you are aware, all of the candidates, Dorothy and our timekeeper, Anne, are on camera because we have so many of us. Our attendees will have to sometimes scroll back and forth to see the active speaker. I think that answers your question. Is that correct, Dorothy?
Yes. Thank you. All right, so we're ready now for question 3. And the first person to answer this is going to be Priscilla Hernandez. And the question is this: how will you address the challenges of distance learning when many of the students don't have Wi-Fi or laptops and younger children are challenged with staying connected for long periods of time? So would you start, Priscilla, please?
This is something I'm very passionate about. And essentially what we're talking about is equity, ensuring that all kids are equipped with the tools and the resources they need in order to learn and thrive. And it is our commitment as a district to provide this. I think that what we've learned during this time is that it has lifted the veil on the inequalities that we have in the system, and it allows us to address them. We have to make decisions, and we have to equip our students with what they need. I deal with the community professionally. I work for a nonprofit that has this particular, and we need to address it in order to continue our services.
All right, thank you. Patrick Cahalan.
So this was something that the board actually we were better prepared for than LAUSD. So the district had gone to one-to-one on devices 2 years ago, and as a result, when the decision was made to shut down, we actually had enough physical devices in the district to give one to every student. We did not have a process in place for giving them all to elementary students, so that getting them all into the hands of the kids was a little chaotic, and it caused a number of logistics issues, but we are fairly well off as far as that goes. The district also, when we entered into that contract, had the foresight to try and plug the digital divide by getting access to wireless access points that we could then distribute to students so they can have hotspots. We don't have enough of those. We have already worked at getting more of them. It's a matter of the supply chain is held up. We are taking other steps to attempt to address this. The Learns program will allow some kids to be on campus, and they will be able to use their devices using the district Wi-Fi while they're on campus. And we will be taking other steps as they become available under the health conditions.
All right, thank you. Tina.
So this is a great opportunity for our partnership with our city to establish a high-speed internet across the city, free. That would address the inequity. That is something we have to fix. And now we realize with COVID that, certain kids are at a disadvantage, crisis or not. So we need to lean on this is a partnership. This is our community. When our kids don't succeed, then our community doesn't succeed. So we need to partner with our community, lean on our local agencies like our Parks and Rec, our libraries. They could be helping with tutoring, one-on-one. And I know that Glendale School District has been doing some good work with offering childcare. So when young children don't have the attention span in front of a screen, that's normal. And those parents need a relief from having to be a teacher and a working parent at home. So we should partner with our local agencies. This is an opportunity, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Wayne.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I have one of those fourth grade students who's doing the distance learning right now, and it's an incredible challenge with Wi-Fi. It's an impossibility without. And so I'm very happy that the district is moving forward with its learning continuity and attendance plan, which I believe is to be approved after some additional public input, I think within the next week or so. And that will provide for hotspots, procedures for getting kids back to school when the levels of COVID cases get to a point where we can start making that happen. I feel for our special ed and our English learning families who are having the hardest time with this. And so my hope is that we can get them the services they need. Remote IEPs is not ideal, obviously. But I think that the district can use that CARES Act money that we received that will be spent by the end of the year for some of those materials to get us over the hump. But it really has to be proactive with these families that don't have all of these resources. Like I said, a lot of them are leaving the district right now. We've lost a lot of lower income families as a result of this crisis. And let's keep that moving so that we can reverse that trend.
Thank you, Crystal.
I'd like to speak candidly as a parent, but first saying I have almost 10 years of experience in distance learning. I know everything from to technology to curriculum to training hundreds of teachers. But as a parent, on the first day of school, my 2 first graders were given Chromebooks. They were unable to hear the teacher through WebEx. The delay was catastrophic. There were tears because of their excitement to meet their teacher for the first time. So I went out as a privileged person and we bought 2 new laptops. That's not okay. That's not okay. There are hundreds and thousands of kids in our school district who, number one, are working from a tablet that's not compatible with the software that's been chosen. And number 2, don't have the right technology or Wi-Fi to get an education. We're in the 6th week of school. Our board, this should be almost as important as the fires that are going on in our backyard. These children are our future, and they're already 6 weeks behind in education. We need to make a movement now.
Thank you. And Scott.
Well, you are talking to a 4-term PTA president. And if that means anything to anyone, it's volunteers, volunteers, volunteers. In our community, I have had the privilege and the honor to work with some of the most amazing resources that aren't paid a dime, but they help out in the community. We have armies of families, caregivers, retired teachers, you name it. They're ready to help. They stand ready to help. And a lot of times right now, we're not seeing a lot of engagement from the district in that regard. The draft learning continuity plan has one mention of the word volunteer next to a line item of PPE equipment that's not funded. That's a problem. I think we need to find safe ways to engage our volunteers so that they don't intersect and cause unsafe conditions for our working staff, but we're ready to help. Technical support. I put Crystal to work immediately as a volunteer helping our community, and we need to do that immediately.
Thank you, Scott. And Melina.
One of the things that I thought district came up with, which was excellent, and because of the fires, it kind of was put on hold, was Learns Outside, and I know families that are participating in it. I thought it could be expanded especially for families and children who really need more of somebody's physical presence and helping them while they're doing the work online. Not all parents are at home. I haven't been at home. I've been working throughout the entire time. And thankfully, my kids are old enough, they don't need me to be there with them. But with that said, I also like the idea of volunteers. And we also have high school students who could be tutoring online through Zoom, students who are underachieving right now in younger grades, and be able to get their hours for community service. So I'd say more loans outside, access to volunteers who are able to help and tutor and work with students, and high school students who can do it the same as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And Mike. Mike Crowley. Yeah, you need to unmute. Need to unmute, Mike.
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry, my 9-year-old.
We missed half of it, so your time's up. I'm kidding, Mike.
Real fast. I belong to one of the biggest organizations in Pasadena, the Tournament of Roses. I've got 935 volunteers at my beck and call. We cleaned up Don Benito, right, Scott? Beautification chair right here. The city does have a Wi-Fi program they're going to do. It is obviously being held up because of COVID. I know that, like Scott said, like everyone's saying, you know, we've got to see how we come out of this. Yes, we need more hotspots. Yes, we need better cable. Spectrum was not ready for this as well. So as many kinks as there are, I think we're doing okay. We're getting through this. Okay, so we just need to have organization, and thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Jennifer.
We are in a 100-year pandemic, and we knew this day was going to come. The response from our federal government was bad, and we know that. I do believe it was a failure of leadership. And we know how failures of leadership hurt children. And I think PUSD did a really great job with the Chromebooks on that March date when they were sent home. And so now what we're seeing are the deeper areas that need to be fixed. And I am totally with Learns in bringing children back. And if I were on the board right now, I'd be persisting to help the children that can't get Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we are ready to move to question 4. And it's going to be first directed to Patrick Cahalan. And the question is this: do you favor the establishment of a state-funded independent inspector general with subpoena power who will oversee all taxpayer-funded California schools?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure what the end goal of it is. People don't, I think, realize exactly how much scrutiny public school districts are under. So the district completes 4 copies of its budget once every quarter. We have an initial budget for the upcoming school year. We have a first interim budget, which takes into account enrollment changes that have happened since first interim. We have second interim, which is based on the governor's initial budget. And then we have our unaudited actuals, which tell us how much money we actually spent in the year. It's very confusing for people, for lay people, to follow these budgets, but they're public information and they're out there, and we're audited individually as districts every year. I don't necessarily disagree with the idea of having a state level inspector general, because it is still the case that individual districts could misspend money. But I believe that, out of all the public entities out there, public schools are the one that are under the biggest microscope when it comes to the budget.
Okay, thank you. Tina.
My first feeling is that I would make sure I would worry about our own autonomy because, we know our schools the best. And if the inspector general has, the too much power, then I'm worried that, we know our students and we know how to support them the best. And to have one person evaluate the entire all the schools in the state, that seems like too much power. So that's my initial thoughts on that.
All right, thank you. And Wayne. Unmute, please.
All right, yeah, sorry, technical issue there. Yeah, I think sounds like a bad idea. I think, as Pat said, there is a lot of oversight already. It seems to me that it might be a little bit too intrusive on our school districts, our public school system. If somebody has an issue with the way the public school is being run, they certainly can come to the board. They certainly can present their case. We know that the County of Los Angeles oversees how things are going here at PUSD as well. We came very close to some unfortunate circumstances there a couple of 2-3 years back. And so, no, I don't think that this is a necessary thing.
All right, thank you. Crystal.
Such an interesting question. That's our job. That would be our job as a board member. And so I would, it kind of infers that job hasn't been done well by the nature of the question. And so I would say, one of the things that I've been talking about frequently is having transparency with our budgets, so there aren't surprises, and our community knows how to access and understand what our budgets and our funding is going toward. So it doesn't have to be a questioning of the legitimacy of the board's responsibilities.
Thank you. And Scott.
Yeah, I worry it just takes decision making out of our community. I believe in the power of our community, and I believe in the power of our board to be the voice of the community, and what we want and what we don't want for our schools and how we pay for them. I think that we also need to be able to have the freedom to raise funds from the ground up and spend those funds as we see fit. I mean, we have the LCAP, LCFF funding formulas for local money. I want more of that kind of thing and more local decisioning about local funds that we can use. And I worry that a top-down kind of relationship puts that into jeopardy.
Thank you. And Melina.
I wouldn't support it either. It would not make sense, just like it wouldn't make sense for the county to oversee city and for the state to oversee county, etc. And now we're talking about state level overseeing local level. Just there's too many layers for a state to be efficient in overseeing a school district. So I think the oversight needs to remain where it belongs, which is in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Crowley.
Yes, I have to agree with Scott. I think that we have to keep this local. Yes, it's always good to have someone to report to. I think a local person, and so the idea is, no, I wouldn't want to have that person have that much power. I really believe that, like Scott said, we have to work with our community. This has to start from our community. Transparency to all issues need to be opened up. And that is the best I can say.
Thank you. And Jennifer Hall-Lee.
Hi. I did find that to be interesting too, because I do see that job as the job of the school board. And so I think it would be a bit redundant. There are also people in California that would love to get rid of school boards. And I'm sure they would just love to have one person in there overseeing things. But I don't think it's a great idea. I think our school board's doing a really good job.
All right, thank you. And now we're going to move to question number 5. And we're going to start this time with Tina Wu Fredericks. And the question is, do you support a charter amendment to allow all parents residing in the Pasadena Unified School District and who are the parent of a child attending a school in the district to vote in the district elections, regardless of citizenship or other status? So
Thank you for this question. I would support that. I've stated in a public comment in school board when they almost voted on this amendment or to recommend this amendment. I support it. I think it's how our parents are the advocates of their children, and so how are they going to advocate if they cannot vote on school board? And this has been done in San Francisco and other cities, and it's been done well. And so there shouldn't be. The precedent has been set, so there's no reason we can't be doing this. And children need a role model for civic engagement, and their role model is their parents. So we're just supporting democracy by passing something like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne.
Yes, thank you. This is a big question. I know obviously this came before the board within the last 2 months. It can be done. I want everyone to have a voice in our school board elections, but it has to be done right. And we need to go and get the public backing for it. We need to get the city council involved. And also, I know it's been done in San Francisco. I believe they spent $300,000 on that, and 56 votes were cast. And so we need to be
Yep.
Very conscious about where that money is going to come from. I do want everyone to have a voice in this district. Okay, we have a lot of families that do not that fit this category, and so I just want to make sure that we do it the right way. But I am supportive of everyone having a voice in this process.
All right, thank you. And Crystal.
Number one, by all means, each child's family needs a voice. But what we did learn in San Francisco is that though it was approved, families didn't use it because of the fear of being deported.
Yep.
And I feel like this is a much more complicated issue than what's sort of being stated here. We need to understand the full scope of our families and the risk that are at play if they are sort of divulge their citizenship. So I think it's a very a grave scenario.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Scott.
Well, I enthusiastically spoke in favor of the PEG, Pasadenans Empowering Participation in Educational Governance. They were over the summer at the school board meetings, and I spoke in favor of their initiative. And as I understood it, their initiative was to survey the community about this issue. And this was not actually a measure that was going to go on the fall ballot, but just to see where the community lies. And I think that's the right first step. And I was disappointed when most of the board voted down and abstained from that initiative. We have over 2,000 students from non-citizen families. And so, my question is, how can we promise them a better future than the ones their parents had if we can't give their parents voice in choosing their school leaders? So I enthusiastically support any movement to this initiative.
Thank you. And Melina. Unmute, please. Yeah, thank you. No, unmute.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with Crystal and with Wayne. It's an extremely dangerous game. We are looking at, besides the fact that it costs $500,000 to $600,000 per election for the school district, which is who is paying for the election, we're talking about running a parallel election, because you cannot mix the two together. You would have to establish a whole separate database. So that's number one. Number two, The moment you start collecting data on people who are not citizens to vote, that data becomes public, which means federal government can access that data, get all their names and phone numbers and addresses and go right after them, which is why people in San Francisco did not volunteer to sign up to vote. So no, I would not support that. Thank you.
All right. And Mike Crowley.
It is a loaded question because all stakeholders should have some kind of comment. However, the city of Pasadena is not ready to put that on the ballot. And I don't believe Los Angeles County is ready to put this on the ballot. So it's really a moot question right now, unfortunately. And yes, these people deserve a stake, and that's what probably PTAs are for, and better.
Yep.
Yeah. But at this point right now, until legislation's changed, we can't do this. We cannot do it.
All right, thank you. Jennifer Hawley.
I have tremendous sympathy about this issue because I believe that everybody needs to be heard. I also am concerned about the cost. I've studied the San Francisco initiative, and people were afraid of being deported. And I think that's something that's a responsibility that we have to look to. People should not be afraid of being deported. I also know that we need more citizens in America, because in our nation, that's where the power is. We're a self-governed nation. The road to citizenship should not be fraught with obstacles. So this is something that needs to go to the people as a proposition.
All right, and Priscilla.
I absolutely agree that parents should have a voice in regards to the decisions with their kids. However, I do see the financial implications of this, putting something of this nature on a ballot. I don't see it being plausible, and I have a lot of questions regarding its logistics. So I think that we really have to take a serious deep dive into it and really understand what we're how to make something like that happen. So that's my position.
All right, thank you. And Patrick.
I'm the one that put that item on the agenda for the school board meeting. Yes, I support this idea, but I want to make sure that everyone understands specifically what PEPEG was originally asking for and what they asked for in the vote that we had. So the original ask was to have the school board issue a statement of support. We, the school board, has no authority. We have no authority to change the charter. So this is something that has to be done by the voters. And in order for something to get on the city charter as a ballot initiative, it has to actually be voted on by the city council, which is its own issue because the Pasadena City Council effectively controls the charter initiatives that apply to people who don't live in Pasadena, which is an issue. And it's historically been an issue. So I approved of the idea of asking the city council to amend the city charter, or rather to put the issue of the amendment of the city charter ahead of the voters. It was not the intention of the PEPEG ask to have a specific idea go ahead of the voters. Instead, it was to ask for a charter reform task force that would investigate all of the questions that everyone here brought up, to which they had answers. So, yes.
All right, thank you. And now we're going to go to another question. And this time the answer will be given first by Wayne Hammock. And the question is, how will civic education be taught at each level, elementary through high school? And what guidance do you expect the board to give on this?
So this is a big issue right now with respect to some of the issues, the social issues that we have in our community. And so my hope is that we get ethnic studies classes added to our curriculum, because I think for our community in particular, we have a long history here with respect to some very challenging issues that are big in our community right now. And so I want those to be done appropriately and with a local context, because Pasadena is a very unique city. We've been around for 150 years, 140 years, and we all know the challenges that we faced. And so for me, for what we want to have at each of our levels is we want to build that awareness over time for what's going on, particularly here in our city, and be responsive to some of the challenges that we have, so that all of our community positions are addressed and and are heard.
All right, thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. I certainly believe that our schools should be teaching a reflection of our history, and I believe that we need to reevaluate what's being taught in the classrooms. However, we have teachers and administrators and curriculum development people who are doing all of those things now, and who have a strategic plan in working towards those things. And so first of all, I would want to trust that they're doing their job well. And if it did make its way to the board, that we would ensure that the curriculum is reflective of all students, no matter race, sexual identity, socioeconomic background, et cetera.
All right, thank you. And Scott.
I think this is a wonderful opportunity to, again, bring our community together. I think that we need to partner with civic groups, NAACP, really sort of go back to the basics in terms of what civic duty is, what it means to be an American in a systemically divided society. And I think we need to get honest with that. And like I say, partner with our local groups and bring that back into the classroom. We have opportunity for volunteer programs. Our PTAs can be involved in that. I think there's great opportunities for not having to expend a lot of money to improve awareness, social awareness on issues, on inequities, systemic inequities, and that kind of thing. It's exciting.
All right, thank you. And Mike Crowley.
Actually, a year ago, I actually got a $4,000 grant from the Tournament of Roses. So my example of why I'm saying this is because we were able to have a STEM night. Absolutely, I believe we're going to need our community partners in order to work with us and work with this district. I think that is the only way we're going to be able to move forward is partnerships. And I wish I could say something happier, because right now, the way things are going, we have to focus on our local partners.
All right, Jennifer.
Hello. Can you hear me? It's so hard on this phone. Okay, here I am. All right. I'm absolutely in support of civic education from kindergarten through 12. And that is why I spearheaded the Women's History Month Assembly at Elliott, because I know that there are children out there that don't realize that it was only until 1975 that the sex segregated help wanted ads in every single paper across the country were demolished. They were overturned. It was a Supreme Court decision 5-4 that classified ads couldn't be female help wanted, male help wanted, with all the better jobs in the male. So that is something I believe strongly in. And we have women right here. Octavia Butler grew up here. We have no street named for her. We have no school named for her. She is somebody we should be honoring. African-American teacher who lived in Altadena and went to John Muir High School and Washington. STEAM, science fiction writer. Thoroughly in support of civic education. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla.
I think it's important to provide civic education. I think it's an opportunity and to create real change long term in the way that we approach things, and we will and how kids who develop into young productive citizens, how they will have outlooks and perspectives on the future and their life and with others.
All right, thank you. And Tina.
So civic engagement means that children are taking ownership of their community. And of course, I support civic engagement. And I think they need to see themselves reflected in their teachers. And that means having, that we actively recruit for African American male teachers or any other group that looks like the students. And that's when the children will feel like they're valued, is they see themselves in their role models in school every day. So I support that. I want to leverage the rich community in San Gabriel Valley, across Altadena, Pasadena, Sierra Madre. Our values, we have shared values, and we should leverage that. And we have a really diverse political history that we shouldn't be afraid of, which is we should confront that and own it, and see a positive future together, working together. Thank you.
Thank you. And Patrick.
Well, in a nutshell, take Crystal's answer and Wayne's answer and squish them together and sprinkle a little of Jennifer's comment on top. So the district currently does this. Anyone who's been through Tracy Fontenot, who's his 5th grade class at Longfellow, when she was at Longfellow, would know that Tracy did a lot of of studies engagement with her students. So there is this is going on in the district. It is a process. It's a development process that has to come through the curriculum department because they have to align it with state standards. We need to follow those pathways so that our students are meeting what California requires us to teach. The superintendent has been a big champion of this, and it's a laudable part of his term as superintendent. I have been encouraging him on that front. And yes, we should do this. We do this. And it also helps when the volunteers get involved and we have outside activities on our campuses.
All right, thank you. All right, and the next question is going to start.
I have an answer.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Oh, did I really? Please excuse me. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I don't want to repeat everybody else because I think everybody had really good points about it. What I would say is to give more power to students in terms of being owners of their own schools. And that includes setting up and stronger advocating for student government bodies and recruiting students that have the potential to grow into future leaders and teaching them how to teach other leaders among their student body. So that to me is one of the best ways to not just educate, but show hands-on what, when you step up, can make, what the difference it can make. And so that would be another thing that I would strongly encourage is the student government bodies.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next question is going to be answered first by Crystal. And the question is, what is your position on Measure O and your position on Proposition 15? If you would answer both of those. Crystal.
Sure, I support both. I particularly want to talk about Prop 15. I think now more than ever is a time for us to move forward with this proposition. It will give us, given the prospective deficits we're going to be facing in the next several years, it'll give us the financial means to create a vision and a strategy collectively as a school district, as the community of Pasadena, to be able to make a significant shift for our school district moving forward for generations to come.
All right, thank you. And Scott?
Well, I regarding Measure O, I support it. I'm a little worried about our priorities in terms of what we're going to use that bond money to pay for. I don't think, again, when I go back to saying one of the first things I'll do as a board member is help facilitate the 10-year community-led vision and success roadmap. If we can get that done, if we can start thinking about our long-term future, then bond money can be spent with full support of the community, knowing we're not fighting each other for money, which happened in the last TT process, which was unfortunate. I'm enthusiastically in support of Prop 15, however, because I think it's more money that we can use now to build us up no matter what we do. And so I'm a big proponent of Prop 15. I'm a soft proponent, I guess you could say, of Measure O.
All right, thank you, Melina. Unmute, please.
Okay. I'm somewhat with Scott on that as well. My concern about Measure O is that it's very ambitious as far as the amount that we're going after. And my worry is that by asking for too much, we might not get anything at all. So that would be, I would say that's the only concern I have with that. And I do agree that God willing, we will have the Measure O pass and we'll have the bond approved. We will be in the position to make the right decision, because God knows our facilities need a lot of work done. And the fact that we are not in compliance with ADA and the fact that some of the schools don't even have a wheelchair access is unacceptable in today's measures. So and the same goes, and I'm definitely support prop as well. And I do believe that that money will go a long way in what we need now. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike.
Okay, last night I said I was not in support of both of them. And the reason why I was not in support of both of them is I would love for them to happen. Okay, here's the problem. In Measure O, let's look at what happened in Measure J. Let's look what happened in Measure DT. There has to be a purpose. It has to be rewritten. We're just going through 11% unemployment right now in Pasadena. We're coming out of a pandemic, okay? Yes, we need this. The district needs to rewrite this. They need to say exactly how they're going to take my kids' future away in bonds. Next, Proposition 15. I see a Proposition 8 with that happening. It's going to pass, and it's going to get fought by Howard Jarvis. And so I think everything needs to be rewritten for me to be supportive of it. So that's my point.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Hi. I support both, and I am a huge proponent of Prop 15. Prop 13 has been a revenue loss for us. We were up at the top with our public schools. We are no longer. And I like Prop 15 because it protects homeowners. That's why it's called split roll. Homeowners are protected, small businesses are protected, the farms are protected. So right now, homeowners are shouldering the large part of our tax revenue. It's something like 79%. Commercial real estate holders are shouldering like 30%. How is this fair? It's not, and it hurts our communities and it hurts our schools. I hope Prop 15 passes because it is absolutely the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Priscilla? Unmute, please.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this long and hard, and I definitely am a proponent and support Measure O. I think it brings us important and vital funding to our education system. I'm a bit hesitant on Prop 15. I have a little different lens, I think, given that I run an organization and I know the impacts that sometimes trickle-down effects have. I'm concerned on the language. I've actually taken a deep dive into it and see how broad strokes, and then there's a lot of room for interpretation or implementation rather. So I would be concerned on how it would impact small businesses and how that would be carried over from big businesses, small businesses, who in turn provide jobs to our parents and to our community.
Thank you. And Patrick.
Very briefly, yes, I support both measures. On Prop 15, I just want to mention a lot of people believe that California has a particularly large government, but when you break down the cost of our government per capita, we're right in the middle of the pack. We're about 23rd in the nation. As of 2 years ago, when I ran the formal numbers, we are behind a number of states that consider themselves conservative states. The highest per capita cost government in the country is Alaska. The second or third highest is Wyoming, and they trades places with South Dakota. Now they get their money from oil leases, but there's a reason why their public school systems have better support than ours. There's plenty of room in the California economy for more taxes to support education. So there's that. On Measure O, when Measure TT was passed, we had an estimated $1 billion worth of facilities improvements in 2010 dollars, and now, or in $28. Now we only got 350 million there. Everyone that's a parent in this district knows that their school needs improvements. If we don't pass these bonds, we don't get the authority to issue them. We will not issue them all tomorrow. So the impact will not be held on the taxpayer right away. I could talk for hours on this, so I'm sorry, I'll just stop. But yes, I support both measures.
All right, Tina.
I support both Measure O and Prop 15. Measure O will help us upgrade our technological infrastructure. And if you want to compete against private school and get a 21st century education, well, this is the one way to do it. And also making sure our buildings are safe and making sure we have efficient buildings that'll save us money. And of course, I worked on getting Prop 15 on the ballot, so I am overwhelmingly supporting Prop 15, and it's actually only going to affect the large corporations that have been not paying their fair share of taxes. So this will be a historic legislation, and this is a long time coming, and we will go back to being world-class schools by investing in our schools. Thank you.
And Wayne, did I hear from Wayne?
No. Yeah, so thank you, Dorothy. I strongly support Measure O. Anyone that has kids in the school recognizes the need for facilities. We have to pass Measure O. I understand some of the concerns about Measure TT. Hopefully we have a board that is going to follow that, and a citizens oversight committee that's going to follow that. Measure Prop 15 has not been an easy one. I've come full circle on this. I've talked to a lot of people since I've been campaigning. I do not support Prop 15. I don't believe for a second that it's only going to affect large corporations. It will be passed down. I know there's a $3 million level for commercial property, but that's cumulative. So if you have a property owner that has 3 properties that are worth $1 million, they're going to get hit. And a lot of our small businesses drive around town, they've been hammered. If we weren't coming out of this pandemic, 100-year event, I might feel differently. But these small businesses have been hammered. It's going to get passed down. I understand it doesn't apply to residential stuff, but it's going to apply to consumers, and it's going to apply to our employees, because they're either going to be employee cuts or prices are going to go up. And I think that's a big problem. And I know it's controversial, but that's my position. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And this is the final question before we open it to closing remarks. And it's going to start with Mike Crowley. The Pasadena Unified School Board has been challenged with making tough decisions, like balancing the budget or closing schools. How will your being on the board make it a more effective governing body? Mike.
Well, being a parent, what I would absolutely look for is input from District 2 parents, so that I can go to the rest of the board and make an articulate statement from District 2 citizens. Okay, we need to evaluate and adjust what works. We have to ask the right questions. And are we really listening? That is the key thing I really want to say. Are we really listening to our parents in District 2? Are we really listening? Because I don't believe that really happened. And that's all I have to say.
All right, Jennifer.
Yes, PUSD has been suffering from declining enrollment for a long time. And in particularly in the last 20 years, in the last 5 years, the enrollment keeps going down. We have to face this fact. And when these schools were built, there was a really high birth rate in this country. That birth rate is not there anymore. We have to re-envision our district, and we can absolutely do this. We have to re-envision it for the children we have now. And that's going to be an exciting process. And I believe that's something we need to do. And I would like to work on that.
All right, thank you. And Priscilla.
This is exactly what I think I like one of my strongest attributes that I would bring to the board. I run an organization. I deal with budgets. I propose budgets. I implement budgets, and have to pivot halfway through when we don't bring in as much as we anticipated, but we still have to provide vital services. This is my specialty, and I will bring that same kind of experience and those decades of experience into the boardroom. You're going to have to sometimes make hard decisions. You're also going to have to also look creatively to compensate for what might not have been funding that might not have been brought in. I work in an organization, especially with nonprofit, that services are needed, they're vital, and they're expected, and we still have to deliver. So we have to create situations that will, whether it be, again, private-public partnerships or looking at the budget and kind of repositioning ourselves. But we will ultimately make those hard decisions, and you need somebody with experience.
Thank you. And Patrick?
Thank you. This is one of those instances where the thing that I have learned in preparing for this job and in serving in it for 5 years is that there is a great deal of uncertainty when it comes to public education. And the best thing that you can do for the district is be deeply informed in how the system works. In 2017, PERS announced that they were dropping their projection on how much they were getting a return on the pension system, and that all of a sudden we were going to see a $7.5 million impact on our budget over the course of 3 years. I had already been talking at the board about how that was coming because I had been following that. You have to follow state legislative processes. You have to know what the governor is thinking when he introduces his initial January budget. This is one of those things that just requires gobs and gobs and gobs of reading fine print, large legalese documents. I really encourage everyone who's running for the board, whether they win or not, to start taking a look at this aspect of the process, because that, you know, it's coming a lot earlier and you can plan when you read.
Thank you. And Tina?
So yeah, I've gone through a lot of the closure process, very painful. And what I learned is you have to include the community year round. You should not be telling people and it's be a surprise which schools to close. And we need to include our current families in the process. When we closed schools, there was little thought in how those kids would transition to the new school. And we didn't even know, how does that education program from one school align with the next school? So we have to involve the community so it's not a surprise, and make the case that all of us, all kids will have an improved educational experience with the decisions that we're making. With the long-term effects is that we all students will benefit from the decision making. And so we have to include the community, especially the families, and allow them to shape the transition for their kids. So we have to build the case, regardless of what the decision is. People have to understand why we made that decision.
Okay, thank you very much. Wayne.
Yeah, so as Pat mentioned, there's a lot of legalese, there's a lot of fine print, there's a lot of statutes to follow. I'm a lawyer, I've done this for 20 years, that's my job. And so I believe that I've got the tools needed to dig in and to help solve some of the problems that we have. It's not going to be easy. The other thing that I do is I'm a community member. I'm a community builder. I know we had some divisive, challenging times there during consolidation. I butted heads with a lot of people. If some of them are watching right now, they probably don't like some of the things that I say. I don't want to go back to that. Okay, I want to build the community. I want to work together, and I want to do the work. I've only been running here for about 3 months. I've gotten up to speed on a lot of things in a short amount of time, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to dig in on the board, work with the other board members to make positive change for all of our kids by doing the hard work that it's going to take.
Thank you. And Crystal.
First thing I want to say is that as someone who has voted in, I represent you, particularly District 6. I represent you in your voice. And so it's my responsibility to make sure your voice is heard as it relates to needs and budgetary concern. But on the other side of that, to ensure that we're transparent. This is where I've spent my career. I've spent almost 20 years in education with managing multi-million-dollar budgets out from near closure into full thriving success. This is what I do best. And then the other side of that is I have kids here. If you have kids in the school district, which I know almost everyone here does, there's a different level, there's a different stake that you're affected when your children are being affected by it. And as it reaches out into the community, it's time for us to be transparent and make the changes that are needed.
Thank you very much. Scott.
Well, I think one of the things that an effective board member can do is not have an agenda, but really be representative of what the community wants and doesn't want for its schools. I firmly believe that public school is a conversation between those that deliver education to the community and those that entrust it to do so. And so I see my role as a gateway, the voice of the community, and also bringing challenges and obstacles to the community, and then engaging with the community and everyone that we can bring together to problem solve. I'm a problem solving facilitator. That's what I do. And so with all of my community relationships, by being a community volunteer, all the decisions I make, all the things I struggle with, will be brought to the community, and we'll figure it out together. I firmly believe that. And I also believe in support of the vision process that we've been talking about.
Thank you, Scott. And Melina. Unmute, please. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. What Patrick spoke about really resonated with me. Working for the Los Angeles Police Department in the city of Los Angeles for the past 15 years. Where we see constant changes coming at us. We see new orders, new policies coming several times a week, and everything has to be moved around and changed. So yes, most definitely, I believe the most important thing is in order to move ahead, you have to stay ahead. And as the board member, if I am to be elected, I believe I have the experience from my work and from my life in terms of presuppose what's coming and plan for what's coming, so that so the organization is not caught off guard, and we're working on policies that will protect and ensure success for the organization. In addition to my 12 years on the commission and on the advisory body for City of Los Angeles, which also taught me a lot about development of policies.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all those who submitted these questions. I think they were excellent questions, and some excellent questions I didn't get to ask. So unless we want to stay till 10, we might have to find another avenue. And I think that those who have asked questions that they want answered, they can contact the candidates. I'm sure your email and so on is available to them. So with that, we're going to move into the closing statement, and you will have 1 minute. And we're going to do this by district. And we're going to start, first of all, with the candidates for District 2. And I would like to start with Mike Crowley. 1 minute.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, League of Women Voters. My name is Mike Crowley. I'm running to be your District 2 trustee. I have an outstanding community service record of 8 years with the Tournament of Roses, working with Ability First. My father has opened up with Friends in Need. He's actually worked with these people for years. My professional life, I managed a rock band that sold 1.6 million records. I didn't get there by being lazy. I work hard at what I do. I was a PTA chair for 3 years. I was a school site council member for 2 years. We need somebody who understands the city of Pasadena, for the city of Pasadena, for District 2 schools. Look at my website, PasadenaStudentsFirst.com. Thank you for your support and thank you for your vote.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Jennifer Hawley, and I'm running in District 2. I have been endorsed by the United Teachers of Pasadena and CSEA, the National Women's Political Caucus of Greater Pasadena. And I am on the Altadena Town Council, and being on the council has taught me about community outreach and the importance of local government. Being the chair of the Elliott Annual Fund has taught me how hard it is to raise money for schools, because we have income inequality in our country, in our city, and in our schools. And I would like to talk about this and work on fixing that problem from the school board, because it is in our public schools where we pass our values down to the next generation. What are our values? My values are with PUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. And Wayne Hammock.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Paul. Thank you to the League of Women's Voters and the Chamber of Commerce. Big election, okay? 3 seats are up. I'm really excited about the opportunity to try to take over the seat here in District 2 that Mr. Bogorgian is vacating. And there's a big opportunity to make a huge change here in this district. There's a chance for a refresh for PUSD, to get our kids back into the schools, to stop fighting with each other, to work together, and to do so in a hopeful manner, okay? We can work together to make big change, stop fighting with each other, help develop programs for our kids that will draw kids in and other families who have shied away from PUSD in the past. Let's be strong advocates for our kids. I will advocate for PUSD and do the hard work that it's going to take. So I really appreciate your time. I'm committed to this district. I've got 3 kids that have gone through. And again, I'm excited about this challenge. So thank you.
Thank you. And now we move to District 4, Patrick Cahalan.
Thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you, Chamber, Paul, Dorothy, and everyone else that's provided the support staff. I have also been endorsed by UTP and CSEA, which represents the lion's share of the employees in the district. And anyone that's followed the board meetings for the last few years knows that the relationship between our labor partners and the board has been contentious as we've worked on our contracts. So I think their endorsement shows that they respect that I do the work. I focus quite a bit on the work. This is a very, very intensive job. It requires a lot of reading time. It requires a lot of advocacy with your state legislatures. You need to have a good working relationship with your county supervisor. I have a track record of doing all of those things. I intend to keep doing that work, and I really hope that you give me the chance in November, because I think it's what's best for the kids.
Thank you. And Scott Harden.
Well, thank you, Dorothy and Paul and Pasadena Media for covering this event live to the greater community. So we've heard a lot tonight about vision, about opportunity, funding or lack thereof, and equity. We've heard about building common purpose to solve big problems. What's important now is for you, the voters, to ask yourself whether you want status quo, or do you want bold, fresh ideas, creative solutions, collaboration, innovation, and frankly, a little bit of innocent optimism that together, we are the best people to hold our PUSD up to the light of inclusion, equity, and opportunity. I may be the newcomer, but with your partnership and my convergence skills, I'll work morning, noon, and night to help write the next chapter of public education in our community, by our community, and for our community. Head to hardenforpusd.com to learn how you can stand with me. I can't do it without you.
Thank you, Scott. And now we move to District 6, Priscilla Hernandez.
Thank you so much. The students we produce in our schools are our greatest reflection of our community's success. We all know the truth, and we all know this is true, and that's why we're listening this evening. Not only do we want the best for our kids, we want the best for our community as a whole. We all know the importance that education is for our future. And my focus as a board member would be to put students first by maintaining academic excellence as students safely transition back into the classroom, by maintaining fiscal responsibility while being sensitive to the vital needs in the most trying of economic times, to have academic access, ensuring that all students not only have opportunity, but access to resources and needs. My commitment is to the community in which I serve, and I will advocate for our students, ensuring their interests. It is time for proven leadership, experience, and representation, and I would be honored to serve as your District 6 representative.
Thank you very much. And Tina Wu Fredericks.
I'm Tina Wu Fredericks, running for PUSD District 6. I was a teacher before I was a mom. I taught in public non-charter school. I know how difficult it is to teach a classroom of over 30 students. That's why my top priority is smaller class size. I believe we already have the education experts in creating the best learning environment, and that's our current teachers and staff who are making this work every day for our students with distance learning. I've taken the time to talk to former school board members with higher degrees, policy experts, and PhDs. Why is nothing getting better? You know what they said? They don't like the politics. What this says to me is the need for the ability to work with other entities outside of the district, public and private, in our community. It's not enough to be an expert in education and budgets. If you've attended school board and come to know the strengths of the current board members, you'll quickly realize we have budget experts and policy wonks. What is missing is advocacy and community experience, which is the unique strength I will bring to the board. I am honored to have the endorsement of United Teachers of Pasadena and California School Employees Association. I am running for PUSD District 6, representing Eastern Pasadena and Sierra Madre. Tina for PUSD.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Crystal Zubernaut.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Crystal Zubernaut, and I'm running for District 6. It's time for a change. We don't have the luxury of taking our time any longer. And with my 20 years experience in education, specializing and being an expert in distance learning and school enrollment growth, I am the best qualified candidate for the challenges that we will be facing we are facing today at PUSD. I also want to say that I have been endorsed by the mayor of Sierra Madre, council members Priscilla Hernandez and Jean Goss of Sierra Madre. And also I'm honored to be endorsed by Larry Torres, the incumbent board member for this seat, who has spent the last 5 years on this board and knows specifically what we need on the board to move forward and has chosen to endorse me. My name is Crystal Zubernaut. I look forward to being your voice on the board. Vote for me.
And Melina Albert.
My name is Milena Albert. I'm running for seat number 6. One of the things we spoke today about was the opportunity for non-citizens to participate in voting process for the school district. I'm the only immigrant in this race who is running for a school board. I represent the 31% of population of Pasadena that was not born in Pasadena. We have very different challenges. We face very different obstacles in life, and I believe it's important for our board to have a member who is not just qualified in terms of their professional and educational background, but who is also an immigrant, in addition to being a single mother of 4 and raising my kids on my own. Please visit my site, Milena for PUSD Kids. Thank you very much. I will be honored to have you vote.
All right, thank you to each of you. And thank you very much for taking time to be part of this forum. As stated earlier, the League's voting service goal is to promote an informed and involved electorate. We hope that we've helped you, that is the electorate, to be better informed about your choices in this election. But now we have to turn it over to you for the involved part. Please participate in our democracy by casting your vote by mail or at a vote center, and urge your friends and family to do the same. If your question was not asked due to time limitations, do go ahead and send it to the candidates. You will see on the screen a page of resources that are helpful to you as you plan your vote. Take a picture of the screen if you wish, so that you will remember to go to our website because many of those resources are there. And we would also like to remind you that the League of Women Voters is going to have a presentation of the pros and cons on October the 8th, and we invite all to attend. And finally, I would like to ask both the candidates and those who are listening in, the participants, and that is pick up the phone and call your family and your friends and the neighbors and remind them to vote, and ask them to call 3 people to remind them, and each of them to call 3 people. We have got to have the greatest turnout that we have ever had for any election. And it will take all of us to participate in it, because as was said, democracy is not a spectator sport. So let's all do it. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night.
Thank you.